What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Quantum Eraser, Righteous Force, Paul, and I think that's it in G+. Good to have you all.
Good morning.
Morning. A few people in Discord as well. I have to scurry to get you all off mute, but welcome one and all in Discord.
Hello,
Are you scurrying?
I am scurrying. I think we're there. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Not from Portugal.
From Portugal.
Plenty of Earth curvature in Florida.
You have Earth curve in Florida or no Earth curve in Florida?
Lots of curve.
Oh, excellent. Tell us all about it.
Well, I was on the beach. I had the binoculars out. I mean, I love to get the P1000, but I just had some 8 times binoculars. Watching some anchored ships at about 12 miles, 13 nautical miles. And this was darndest thing. As I walked down to the water, I could barely see the tops of a ship. Just make out the mast. And then I walk up the beach, go up, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 feet in elevation, and I could see half the ship. It was really wild. Really some amazing effects of curvature.
Wow, you have an effect, right? So what is the cause of that effect? My mic working?
Oh, the cause of
Hello?
effect? That's the Earth's curvature.
How did
Oh,
you
so you have a hypothesis, right?
No, I have
You have a
Earth's curvature. It was really, really cool to see with my own eyes using binoculars and just going
okay,
up and down the beach.
calm down now. Okay, we got it. So I say again, you have a hypothesis. Earth curvature causes ships to disappear over the horizon, correct?
Sorry, say that again. You say that Earth's curvature makes the ships disappear over a horizon from the bottom up? Is that what you said?
That's what you're saying.
What was the other fellow saying?
Oh my God.
Explaining to you that you have a hypothesis. If this, then that. Natural phenomena, according to you, is boats disappearing, cause Earth curve, correct?
No. Boats disappearing from the bottom up.
Yeah, and the cause of that effect is Earth curve, according to you, correct?
Correct.
Right, go ahead, QE.
Let's see the experiment.
Take a pair of binoculars, go to the beach, make your own experiment, do your own research.
Alright, do you know what an experiment is?
Hello.
Hey, Arwin.
We're gonna let QE do it because he knows experiments the best, or at least he thinks he does.
I'll ask again. Do you know what an experiment is?
Radio problems?
Yeah, difficult question.
Maybe if I asked him a different question, maybe it might help.
No, please don't. Let him
Okay.
answer this question.
The most interesting thing is I plugged all these numbers into Walter Bislin's advanced turf curvature calculator. And what do you know? Matched my observations to a T.
That's not an experiment.
Sorry, the question before you
want to
started
know what my
babbling-
independent variable was?
Sorry.
You want to know about the independent variable?
Sorry, you're asking us a question, but you've completely ignored, by way of total silence and then an assertion about a calculator you've used, the question that was asked to you. Do you know what an experiment is?
The independent variable was the height of the observer.
That's what you think an experiment is.
I
Independent
independently
variable
varied
is
my
the height of an
up and
observer.
down from water
Sorry,
level.
please don't make a statement. Stop talking and then talk over me when I reply. The question was, do you know what an experiment is? Your answer is independent variable is height of observer. That's not an experiment or what an experiment is. So I would take it from that you don't know what an experiment is if that's your declaration upon being asked what an experiment is. Incorrect answer. You're wrong.
I'm on Discord, so it's a little choppy.
What is an experiment?
Apparently, it's still choppy.
Doesn't know the answer. That's why it goes silent. He'll make an assertion about something random when there's a long pause, like he did last time. He doesn't know the answer.
Yeah, and that wasn't a viable independent variable either. Height is not an independent variable. It doesn't cause anything, for crying out
Hey,
loud.
QE. You know what height causes? It causes a change in the distance to the horizon, because it's like mathematical when you're on a sphere. The higher up you go, the more distance to the horizon.
So
Have
height,
you done any experiments or observations on the beach?
What's the horizon?
That's where the sky meets the earth. Solid line
no, the sky never meets the earth.
at the horizon.
No, it just appears that way. It's not an actual location. The sky doesn't actually meet the ground.
Why can't I see past the horizon then if it doesn't actually meet the ground?
So why are you asking
Why
me
can't I
something?
send any VHF radio signals over the horizon if it's not a hard physical place?
Say it again. Horizon is a not actual location. The sky does not meet the ground at that location. And now you seem to be talking through me. I'll try again.
Well, I'm on Discord.
I'll try
It's
again.
choppy.
Try shutting up, Brenda. So, let's say it slower and louder for our friend in Discord with a choppy signal. The horizon is not a physical location. It is not where the sky meets the ground. It is where the sky...
Would you care to
Excuse me. The reason you can't hear me is because you're talking while I'm talking. I'll ask you for the third time to please not do that. Thank you. The horizon is... Can you pop yourself on mute, perhaps, while I'm talking, rather than moving around, rustling your microphone, complaining that there's a choppy signal while I'm in the middle of explaining something? For the third time. I'll attempt it
Making
again.
a cake for you.
You just need to shut up and put yourself on mute. That's all you need to do, my friend, while I explain that the horizon is not an actual location. It is not where the sky meets the ground, as declared by you. It is where the sky appears to meet the ground, a not actual location.
Over.
Just let me know when it's my turn. Just let me know.
Over.
Hey, Sleepy Murray.
Yeah, it's your turn now, dickhead. Speak.
So, question about the horizon not being an actual location, as you claim, which is completely false. So, if I send somebody out in a boat and I'm observing from a beach, and I send them out, I'm watching through my P1000 or my binoculars until I see the top of the boat disappear over the horizon. And then I radio to them, or maybe I call them on their cell phone and I say, hey, what's your latitude and longitude right now? And they send me back their coordinates. is that not an actual location where they disappeared over the horizon and they just provided me their latitude and longitude?
No, because you didn't listen when I said it 3 times. When they disappeared over the horizon, what, like people disappear over the tops of hills? No, they don't disappear over the top of a not actual location. This is nonsense.
I just presented my case.
No, you
And
didn't.
I'm sorry, I diverted. We still have yet to hear his definition of an experiment, please. Let's go back there.
Yeah, I agree.
Should
No,
just
no.
correct him on his definition of the horizon not
Experiment-
being an apparent
An
place.
experiment.
We will.
When you take your
We'll get to that in a
P1000
second. What's a scientific
and
experiment?
you start off on the water line and you take a picture of a ship.
That's not an
and
experiment.
you see
Get
a whole
him on-
bunch of
get
the
him on
ship.
track.
I'm sorry, you see
Come
very
on.
little. Where you see very
Listen,
little of a ship.
shut
He
up.
doesn't want to listen.
Shut
We don't
up.
want
You
you
walk
to
up to them.
detail. We don't want to detail what you think this is. This example you're giving as the example of what an experiment is. We don't want your crap version of a non-experiment. That's not what we want. We want you to tell us what specifically an experiment is.
Oh, I know what an experiment is. An experiment is when you observe solar noon, sun altitude.
Can't listen. He's a moron. I'll say it again because he's a complete thicko. No, I don't want you to explain an example of an experiment, which probably won't be one, but tell us specifically what an experiment is. So if I was to say what is a car, I don't want you to detail the specs of a Fiat Punto. I want you to describe what a car is. I don't want you to detail what you think an experiment is or an example of one. Just tell us what an experiment specifically is.
Why don't you Google it and tell me?
I already know, but you've claimed that you have an if and then relationship, cause and effect. And we're asking if, given that you have declared a cause and effect relationship with a independent variable claimed to be height, it immediately suggests that you haven't got the vaguest clue what science is. And we're asking you to define experiment so we can ascertain whether or not this is the case. We know what an experiment is. We talk about it all day, every day. You have come here and told us that an independent variable is height, making you a scientifically illiterate moron.
And how much Earth curvature do you take?
This isn't detailing what an experiment is. Tell me what you think an experiment is, not an example of what you have as what you think an experiment is, but specifically what any experiment could fall into these categories when detailed by you as being. What is an experiment?
Why don't you tell us about your last experiment regarding Earth curvature?
I'm not making a claim here. You're talking about moving up and down in the horizon and things disappear. Now you're asking me to claim that I've got... You're the one making a claim. So, no.
So you
You're
have
the
done
one
no
making a claim.
experiments. Has Quantum Eraser done any experiments?
Who cares? This is a red herring fallacy. You have given us an example of an if and then relationship, a cause and effect relationship. And now we're asking you if you appreciate whether or not we're trying to ascertain your level of understanding in this regard. This regard being your claim that you're making.
Well, why don't you educate me? Tell me about your last experiment to determine the flatness of the Earth.
Not my last example of an experiment, the details of what makes an experiment. Whereas you're trying to segue away by saying, well, I'll give you a crap example of what I think an experiment is. Now, what's your last experiment? No. We're trying to ascertain whether or not you understand what science is by asking you specifically what an experiment is. And you keep telling us that we need to tell you about our last experiment, given that you've already made a claim here with a cause and effect relationship.
There seems to be no better expert here than you and Quantum Eraser in regards to experiments.
Oh, well, that's very kind. Thank you very much. Yes, we do know what we're talking about. You, however, seem to be a complete moron.
Flat.
So what's an experiment?
Hang on. Let me Google it.
Okay. Maybe parrot the first thing that Wiki says. See how you get on.
Wouldn't you already have to know what an experiment is? Why you need to Google it?
just wasting your time. Let's move on.
I'm Googling it.
Okay, you Google it. We'll go over horizons. From Wiki, your alma mater, horizon is the apparent line that separates Earth from sky. Dictionary.com, horizon. The line or circle that forms the apparent boundary between Earth and sky. From Merriam-Webster, horizon. The line where the Earth seems to meet the sky. The apparent junction of Earth and sky sailing toward the horizon. From Oxford Dictionaries, last one, horizon. The line at which the Earth's surface and sky appear to meet.
John, there is a secondary use for the word horizon, and I really want to apply it right now. The second noun is the limit of a person's knowledge, experience, or interest, and that applies right here, right now.
Thank you.
Did nobody get that?
I did. I thought it was amusing. I laughed. It's interesting that on this flat surface being presented by Flatzoid here, made by Jose Meza, who's one of the... Is he the owner, or is he just one of the moderators on 24/7?
Oh, by the way, that's not Flatzoid, that's Paul.
Oh, is it you presenting it, Paul? Sorry.
Sorry, I was talking, but I think I was on mute. Jose Mesa, yes, 24/7. He is one of the owners. Shout out to 24/7 live Discord and Betty's server. Flat Earth debate, science versus pseudoscience. Thanks.
So do you want to explain?
guys.
Hold on. Hey, Chocolate. How you doing?
Morning.
And hey, Mind Warps. Can you just explain to us? I've got it nice and
Hey.
big, Paul. Can you just explain what's happening?
Sorry, I had to get myself off mute, so bear with me just a second. I'm not, this is obviously Jose's, it's not mine, but it looks like he's got a flat surface and he's got a little boat that's off in the distance, and he's at probably the end of his driveway. And he's kind of at a high altitude when he first starts to take a picture, but he drops the camera down and the boat starts to disappear bottom up. And there's, looks like there's a little bit of a miraging effect going on that's probably affecting that a little bit. But the boat's on a flat surface disappearing from the bottom up.
Yeah, he's across the street taping it. It's on it's just a boat on the driveway, and he lowers the camera about like 2 inches or so. I don't know the exact number, but like
That's obviously the curve of the Earth.
of course, from across the street, yes.
So we got
Any obstructions, curvature, no matter how optical it looks, we'll call it curve, and you guys can't prove it's not.
all right, back on
Exactly.
topic. Has he got an experiment yet? Or the definition of experiment? Sorry.
He can just read the chat in the Discord. I dropped one. I think even Brenda dropped one. She dropped the same one I did. So if he wants to go read it, it's in there. So
Do we have somebody Googling experiment right now?
Yes.
He's taking his time.
That's
Is he?
that's
is he
that's
struggling?
interesting. Riley, didn't we have a discussion about how they took cause and effect out of that
I believe
the definition for experiment?
Yeah, we did, and I believe someone's put it back in. I believe there's been a bit of argy over it.
Right,
They
right.
put it back in.
They put it back in. Yes. Because I went
So-
to go look the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute. I remember clearly having a discussion about how this was taken out. So
So
don't know.
Wiki, they're doing the Wiki two-step.
So what's
Trying
happening
to
is
gravel it away, but somebody put it back.
the Baltards are trying to change history, right? They're trying to change the meanings of words, and even the guys on Wikipedia realize that you can't make gravity a force just because you want it to be, right? You can't make Einstein not supersede Newton because he did. You've got to do what they say, right? That's what the science did.
bro,
Hey, Nathan,
I went to go look at
If
it
the
just to see
airline
what it looks
pilot
like
guy
right
hasn't
now. I
brought
was just
any
like,
proof yet,
oh,
can I
really?
touch on something real quick?
Hold on. Somebody's trying to get through in Discord. Say that again.
Sorry.
The airline pilot guy's not going to bring any proof. Could I touch on something real quick?
Hold on a second. You were interrupting Chocolate.
Oh my God! Let's not interrupt each other by telling each other we're being interrupted.
Yeah, Chocolate was saying something. Now he wants to bring up a new topic. Let Chocolate finish what he was saying, and then he can add to it or change the subject. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I was just trying to reiterate how we were talking about it, and I went to go look just a few days ago just to look it up, and there it is, cause and effect in the definition for experiment in Wiki. When clearly we had a discussion about how they took it out and then used the Wayback Machine to look at it. It was there. So now I go back there and now it's there. So somebody's either doing some time dilation or something, or
They're trying to Mandela it away.
or
I mean, it's
something,
not
bro.
the
I don't
technical
know.
definition of gaslighting, right?
Right.
Definitely
So,
flip flopping. Anyway, go ahead, Babs.
Right. Okay, so about a week ago, I gave you guys an example of Coriolis that I wanted us to discuss. And after reviewing that show and watching back on what I said, I realized that I didn't make my point the way that I wanted to. Like, it wasn't articulated very well. So I'm going to ask Paul to present that image for me one more time. And this is going to be a segue into something else that I'm going to talk about as well.
I've got the triangle up right now,
Okay.
Babs.
So Paul's
Not
got
very
this
good with
triangle
triangles
up right now. So I just want to use this as an example of vectors. So what we were talking about last week is if a sniper is shooting at target B, and target B is rotating on the surface of Earth, it's going to be at location A after rotation. And C is also going to rotate as well. But the bullet is not going to be on the non-inertial reference frame. Therefore, it isn't going to rotate with a non-inertial reference frame. So you would have to aim ahead of your target in order to hit it, since it's on the rotating body. Another problem with this is that on a right angle triangle, the slanted side of the triangle is the longest side. And some snipers have claimed that they can hit targets that are 2 miles away, but that would require them to be shooting beyond the limit of their sniper rifle, if you get what I'm saying.
Have you
So
ever
now
shot
that
a
we're
rifle,
done with
son?
that point,
Have you ever shot a rifle? Shut your mouth. Have you ever shot a rifle?
you live under power lines, John?
You mainline
No,
fluoride.
I haven't
There is
shot a
nobody
rifle, no.
that aims at point A to hit B or aims at B to hit A. That is friggin' nonsensical buffoonery.
Did Rumpus tell you that?
It's nonsense, but that's what's claimed by the heliocentric model.
I don't care what they
That if
claim.
something is
I've
rotating,
made
it's going
these
to be
shots.
in a different location.
Can you hear? Can you hear when I'm talking?
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Can you hear when I'm speaking?
Affirmative, yeah.
Then why did you monologue for 3 minutes over this horse shit while I was telling you to stop when you said snipers do this?
I couldn't hear when you said that.
So you can't hear when you're talking.
No, I
Give
can't
us an
hear other
example.
people while I'm talking. If you're talking while I'm talking, I can't hear you.
Diagrams, Babs. I want you to show us live a sniper aiming at point B, trying to hit A. Show it.
I didn't say that's what snipers do.
Oh my
That's not what I
God.
said. You're
I'm out.
misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you are, Johnny.
Are you referring to the absurdity of it all?
Is he just choosing to misunderstand what I'm saying? Because that's not what I'm saying is going to happen.
No, I don't think he's listening properly. I think he's too busy jumping on you rather than listening.
So are you trying to divine my
just-
thoughts?
I mean-
Are you trying to divine my choices? Do you have special Evo mind powers or something?
I'm just
He's making a
what you
different
just
Oh, you're
said.
just talking over top of me, right?
About
Actions speak louder than words, John.
Actions speak louder than what type of actions do you want, Arwen? You want me to come over and club you one?
No, the guy's not making the point you think he's making, John.
Oh, what point is he making, Tony? Why don't you break it down for me?
He's saying that this is the arguing point that they say, right? He's not making the point himself. He's saying that that's what they say.
Okay, so he's saying that snipers point or aim at A to hit B, or point and aim at B to hit A. Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, but it's not his point. He's
So
saying
you did get that wrong. That is what I said,
God.
but I said that that's what they'd have to do if they were on a rotating Earth, but they don't do that, is what I said.
Yeah, I agree. He's right.
Oh wow, then that could have took
So
like 10
we're
seconds.
all in
and then you're gonna
agreement.
move. So 10 seconds.
Yeah,
you
we're
could
all in
have said, like,
agreement. It doesn't happen.
oh my God.
You live under power lines.
I agree
John.
with chocolate.
Talk over top of me.
I agree with chocolate.
This is a joke. What the hell's going on?
It doesn't happen.
Some people can't get things out in 10
That's
seconds.
what's going on. Let's go.
Why do I only have 10 seconds to make a point? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You don't. Some people can't get thoughts out in 10 seconds concisely, and that's just the issue.
If I can't
At the
get to the end of what I'm saying, then you're not going to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
I totally agree.
At the end
Same
of
thing happened
what
to me
you
yesterday
at
with
the end of
Coriolis,
what you
and John
said,
jumped on me to
John said
appreciate what I was talking.
at the end of what you said, John said to show him that. Right? You agreed it doesn't happen, it's not your story, it's their story. So unless they've shown you
Not my
and
story,
you can show
it doesn't
us
happen.
or somebody show somebody, that shit ain't happening. That's it. Nobody points at B to hit A. Nobody points at A to hit B.
What I said is
That's
gonna
not real
happen.
life.
He's not listening
All right,
to you,
I'm done.
Chocolate. He's over talking you.
Babs, we good? Or do you have
Yeah,
a
we
further
good, yeah.
point?
Can I speak now? Is
Yeah.
it clear?
I'm asking
Are we
you
all
if
clear?
you're good on that point, or you have something further. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good on that point. I wasn't saying that that's what happens. I was just saying that that's their narrative, and that's
You
what
said
they'd have
that
to do
10
if we were on a
times
rotating
already.
Earth, but we're not.
You've said that 10 times already. We know that. We need to see it. Actually, not on a line diagram of your little freaking triangle.
Why are you yelling at the guy who's all standing around with us beating the dead horse? Did he kick it wrong or something?
He's just yelling at me because he lives under power lines and he's under a lot of EMF frequency right now.
Your sister doesn't
No,
mind.
Babs, you're just droning. You just drone.
That's what he does. He
So
drones.
I can't even get past this. Like, I'm trying to get past this, and I'm not. You're not letting me
Babs.
get
All right,
past this.
let's go. Let's get past it right now. So what's your next
We can
point?
drone on about it for 10 minutes, so we can get past it. So I
All
vote
right,
let's go
but I'm
past it.
saying right now, let's get past it. Come on, man.
Please, let's move on, Babs.
Let's go. What's up?
All right. So can Paul put up the next image that I sent him?
Bloody hell, it worked.
It's go ahead. It's the soccer ball kicker with the ball and the graph.
Yeah, that's the one that we're going to move to next. So when we're talking about bullets, we're talking about projectile motion, and everything that is in projectile motion is on a path that's called a trajectory. So if you look at this graph, it represents different vectors that are moving in different trajectories. And with this ball, the S represents the magnitude or the force that the ball is moving with. And the X coordinate represents the distance that the ball is traveling. And the y-axis represents the vector of either upwards or downwards, up being positive and down being negative. So this is the same thing that happens with a bullet as well. When it's fired, it's subject to all these different vectors that are going to make it move in all these different directions.
What did you say S
So-
represented?
Distance.
Sorry, I think it
Okay.
cut off first syllable. What
Distance,
did you
the
say the
distance.
S represented?
Distance.
For the
I
S,
thought it represented the
X.
vector that the ball is traveling on.
are you talking about the slanted line or the flat line?
The straight line with the arrow on the end that's got labeled S for sugar.
S as in Sierra. S.
S represents the magnitude of force that the ball is traveling with.
So the magnitude is the direction that the ball is actually traveling. It's not what you think it's traveling. It's what it's actually doing. So it's not what you're
it's the
describing
amount
as
of
the path
force.
the ball ends up at. It's not the vector.
Have cowbell to go with what you're saying?
Yeah, I shot a gun yesterday, Babs, and the barrel had rifling on it, so it doesn't come out with a spin the way this ball is doing, to where you're leading the player with your foot. And I hit the target because I was aiming at the target. So I don't know why you're using a guy who puts spin on a ball to represent a bullet.
Is Babs
Not
American?
putting-
Because if I'm not having a lesson off an American about soccer.
You just said
Not putting the
not your
spin on the
white
ball.
ball, your
It's
barrel.
a two-dimensional image. There's no
Have
spin on
you
the
shot-
ball.
have you shot a gun
sometime
before?
in this decade?
That
Wow, I
whale
thought-
is the
I
nicest
thought I was making
thing
a
I've
racket.
heard all day.
Great big police siren in the background on Discord.
Yeah, they're
Babs,
coming to
have you
get
ever
Babs.
shot? Have you ever shot a gun before, Babs?
Yes, I have. Sorry about that. There was a fire truck driving by my house. And yes,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have shot a handgun before, but not a sniper rifle.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Have you ever aimed at B to hit A?
That's not what we're talking about right now. You're
Well,
obfuscating.
I just want to add. No, I'm not obfuscating. You're trying to show the soccer image to coincide with your first image. I'm asking you, when you shoot a gun, do you aim at B to hit A?
No, but in the second image, we're not aiming at anything. I'm just explaining to you what happens to objects that are in projectile motion.
As a kid, when I played ball, I realized what happens when I kick a ball.
Okay.
Oh
So
my
if
God.
if the
What's your
player
point about
if
projectile
my
motion?
teammate is running, if my teammate is running, I have to lead him because he's running towards the direction. And I got to lead him with the ball. I can't kick at him because he won't be there.
Was there a concluding point that you wanted to make, Babs?
I've barely even gotten halfway to what I'm talking about because all the interruptions and could I just get like 5 minutes uninterrupted? I know you guys are dying to interrupt. Could you just leave it to the end of the presentation?
Monologuing
So that
nonsensically.
obfuscated?
You poor baller.
The problem is
Okay.
a 5-minute monologue is not ideal.
You can have 2 minutes. Go ahead. No one will interrupt you.
Okay, and I'm not monologuing here. So directly under the image, Anthony, you can see that it says its magnitude is S. And you're saying that that's not what S represents, but we'll talk about that later. So what I was using this diagram for is to represent the different vectors that are acting upon that ball that's moving in projectile motion, which is similar to the motion that the bullet is going to be moving in. Since I only have 2 minutes, let's just move on to the next image that I gave you, Paul.
You're good with moving on, Paul?
This transition's part of your 2 minutes.
Ready when you are.
Yeah. So Right. So the two-dimensional image that was before this could be representational on a non-rotational surface because it's not affected by rotation. It's only affected by the vectors that were included in that diagram. But if we're to consider this to be taking place on a rotating surface, if you look at this diagram here, you can see that the concentric circles rotate slower the closer you get to the center of the circle. These race cars represent a track that they'd be traveling on at a specific velocity. So car number 1 is traveling at 100 kilometers per hour. Car number 2 is traveling at 90 kilometers per hour, all with an increment of 10 kilometers between each car as you go to the center. If we were to take car number 1 and place it on track number 2, because it's moving at a faster velocity and at a different rate than track number 2, it's going to be ahead of car number 2. And that's the same thing that's happening with the bullet that's being fired from north to south. Since it is in the track, which is number 1, and is maintaining the velocity of rotation, it would be moving at 100 kilometers, similarly to that car on that track. When it enters the second track, which is moving slower, it's still going to be moving at 100 kilometers, so it's going to appear to curve because it's ahead of the other. It's moving faster than the other elements that are on that track. Similarly to what you see on a merry-go-round, when a ball is thrown to the opposite side, you see the ball appear to take a curved path because it's entering areas that are rotating at slower speeds, whereas it's still maintaining that same rotation from the location that it was launched from. Okay, I'm done.
It's wrong. The ball's not
It is
curving.
Wrong.
Totally wrong. The ball's not curving, number 1, at all. Number 2, it's not curving because it's entering an area of different rotation speeds. It's totally unaffected by the roundabout that's underneath it. It's travelling in a different reference frame. So no, it's sod all to do with the speed of the rotation underneath it.
It's not curving, it appears to curve. It's an apparent fictitious force that appears to make it seem like it's deflecting.
But
But
there isn't.
before
There is no.
the ball or the bullet.
Yeah, but you've now added an extra element that wasn't in your description. So now you've got an observer watching things traverse reference frames. Well, that wasn't in your example.
No, it was not. You're right.
This is a total train wreck. What a waste of 3 minutes.
More like 5.
Anthony, you've got something juicy though, haven't you?
Have I?
Yeah! The Holy Bible of ball heads.
Oh. You're gonna have to give me a minute to find it. I'm not prepped for this, Nathan. Bear with me. Come back to me in a few minutes. Oh, by the way, I do want to ask him about vectors. Can you go back to Paul? Can you go back to that image where the footballer's kicking the ball? Okay, so we've got on screen the footballer kicking the ball, right? And you've got it labeled as S, as a straight line with the arrow on the end of it. And I questioned you on what you said, and I thought you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you said was S was the vector that the ball's traveling in, or words very similar to that. And then you identified underneath that the vector was described as the vector S has components X and Y along the horizontal and vertical axis. The label that is identified as S isn't the vector. The vector is the direction of travel of the ball and the magnitude it's traveling in. And in a curved path, it would be a continuously variable vector. So it's incorrectly labeled that. That is not identifying the vector. So S is not the vector. Even though it says that, that's not what the vector is. I'm done.
The different vectors that you're thinking about that ball is being affected by would be the Y and X vectors that are making it appear to curve. But S is constant. It's moving in a constant direction. S.
But it isn't, though, is it? It's moving on a curved path, and that's not a constant direction, you moron.
Curved path is on the different vectors, Anthony.
Yeah,
It's
and
not on the S vector.
that picture says the vector S, which is a straight line, is not the path that the ball's taking. The vector that the ball is taking is not a straight line. Where did you get the picture
One
from?
of the vectors that the ball is taking. The ball is taking multiple different vectors.
Correct. But on the diagram, it indicates that S is a straight line with a large magnitude, and it's indicating that that is. Well, it says on the label that it's the vector S has components X and Y along the horizontal and vertical axis. Its magnitude is S, but it's not, though, is it? The path of the ball doesn't have that magnitude the way it's described. It's incorrect.
Vector S wasn't one of the paths that the ball is taking. It wouldn't go in that direction. It would just not go in that direction. So vector S is one of the paths that the ball is taking. You're saying it's not.
No, vector S is not one of the paths that the ball is taking. The ball's on a curved trajectory, and it is going the long way round, right? It is not on that vector that's described as labeled on the picture. Where did you get the picture from?
I got it from lumenlearning.com, and it was one of the physics courses that I'm looking into right now. I can post the link for you if you want it.
So you got a physics course, natural science with soccer balls and Jose right here, right? Is that physics?
I haven't shown any Jose anywhere. I don't know.
You got Jose here on the screen with blue shorts, high tube socks, and a soccer ball. This is all man-made stuff, right? Is that physics? Right? Do you have a point somewhere in this 30 minutes? What is your point?
I have made several points, but you've just chosen to ignore them.
Oh, now you're defining my choices, right? Do you know me? What's my favorite color?
Brown.
Yeah, brown.
Does he have a point? Can we get to a point sometime this morning, right? Before I eat breakfast, sometime this morning, we get to a point so we can move on.
The point is that Anthony's wrong. He's saying that S isn't one of the vectors, but if S wasn't one of the vectors, the ball wouldn't move in that direction.
You're like all the ballers. Do you think like you're scientific if you say vector? What's your vector, Victor? Roger. We have Clarence. What is a vector?
A vector is direction and magnitude, and S is labeled as a long, straight line, and that's denoting the direction of travel and the magnitude. And that ball is not on that trajectory, and it is not at that magnitude. It is on a curved path, and it is on a reducing rate. So that S is incorrectly labeled on your diagram. And if you're paying for that physics course, I suggest you get your money back.
There is another.
I'm paying for it, but do you understand what axes are? Different axes.
Can we get to
understand what different axes are, Anthony?
Can we get to a point? Forget the S. What is your point with the bullet and the soccer ball?
Point that it follows the same path that the bullet does, and it's under several different vectors of force that are going to affect the path that it takes.
Several different vectors so vectors cause forces now?
Yes, they do. They don't cause forces, but they are the result of forces.
Oh, I said, does vectors cause forces?
No.
Thank you. Can we get to a point?
Yeah, I'll just round it out because I'm sick of hearing it. This is just a simple conflation. So the ball in the example with the soccer ball is actually taking a curved trajectory. It's got a curved path. The bullet in the example that's claimed to be deviating from your vantage point on a non-inertial reference frame is not bending. So you've got two different examples. One's seeming to bend because it's claimed to have an non-inertial reference frame spinning underneath it. The other one is actually bending. That's all that's happening here.
The bend in the soccer ball image represents the drop that is going to affect the bullet as it travels along the y-axis. The weight of the bullet is going to cause it to follow that same parabolic path as the ball does.
Who cares? The drop of the bullet's got sod all to do with Coriolis deviation, though, has it?
It doesn't, but it's related to the point that I was making on the last show about what happens to the bullet over distance, and we didn't get.
So the bullet.
Oh gosh, Babs, let it go. My gosh, the bullet loses velocity. It slows down and goes boom, boom.
Yeah, wow. That's astonishing. Let me call my wife.
That isn't the that isn't the conclusion we got to on the last show. It's not. So what are you talking about?
Why does a bullet slow down, Babs?
Because of the different forces that are acting upon it.
If you kick a soccer ball, does it ever slow down?
Yeah.
Why does the soccer ball slow down?
The same reason that the bullet does, the different forces that are acting upon it.
So the velocity is stronger at the beginning and it tapers off eventually to nothing. So it has to fall down, go boom, boom, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what's that got to do with Coriolis?
Precisely. What the hell does that have to do with Coriolis effect? Absolutely nothing is the answer.
It's just more baller, more
Doesn't have
speculation.
it doesn't have anything to do with Coriolis, but the race car example with the different cars and the different tracks does.
Oh my god.
No, it doesn't. The race car example hasn't got any Coriolis effect. If you've got race cars travelling around on a racetrack and the ones in the centre travel a shorter distance, that's got sod all to do with Coriolis effect.
Race cars were representational of what would happen to objects that are on those different latitude lines.
You're already begging the question that the Earth is spinning rather than proving it first.
Wait a second. Where's the cars at?
I am begging that question.
Well, then stop begging the question and prove it first before you put race cars doing stuff that race cars don't do.
So are the race cars
why
in the inertial frame?
Coriolis in the first place?
So are the race cars in the inertial frame?
Earth rotation.
Oh my god. Are the race cars in the inertial frame of reference?
No, they're in the non-inertial frame of reference.
Then what the hell? What are you talking about?
Before you fired the bullet, is it in the inertial reference frame or non-inertial reference frame?
The bullet is in the inertial reference frame when it's after it's fired.
I'm talking about before it's fired.
Oh my god.
Babs, when the bullet's still in the gun, it's in the non-inertial reference frame, which is supposed to be the rotating Earth. When it leaves the gun, it leaves that reference frame into the inertial reference frame, and that's how you're supposed to see Coriolis.
Everything
that doesn't happen.
that is on the non-inertial reference frame is going to be moving with it. Even after it leaves and goes into the inertial reference frame, it is still going to maintain that rotation.
Conservation of momentum, then how do you get Coriolis effect, clown?
Yeah, bro.
Get it because of conservation of momentum.
You're certifiable, Babs.
Hold on, the bullet has.
Sorry,
the bullet has conserved.
No, shut this guy up. This guy affected me like a baller now. I mean, who knows? Maybe he really is. This guy drones on and drones on and drones on.
Right, Babs, can you
go to
answer
show
the
950 to 960 and learn about Coriolis and then come back?
Babs, can you answer John's question again? I didn't quite catch what you said, and I don't think most other people did either. John said, if conservation of momentum is the explanation that you gave, then how do you have Coriolis?
Sure. When the bullet is still in the non-inertial reference frame, and it's on a latitude that is moving faster than the latitude that it's going to be in after it's fired, it's conserving that momentum. When it moves into a latitude that's moving slower, it appears to deviate because it is still rotating at that same rate it was rotating at the latitude that the bullet was fired from.
So what's the answer to the question, and how do you have Coriolis given conservation of momentum?
I just answered it.
Yeah, but you did it convoluted. Just do it in one sentence.
Okay, in one sentence. So the bullet is on a latitude that's moving faster than the other latitudes that it's going to travel to after it's fired. Because it's moving faster, when it goes into those latitudes, it's still moving at that same rate. Therefore, it's going to overlap everything else that's in that latitude and appear to deviate.
But the problem is there is no apparent deviation.
No, there isn't.
Oh,
So
gosh.
then
Babs,
will fail, doesn't
answer
it?
me this. Answer me this, Babs. Is the Earth spinning or not?
From what I know and what I've seen so far, no, it's not spinning.
Well, then, if the Earth is not spinning, what is the point you're trying to make with Coriolis when there's no Earth-based Coriolis?
The point that I'm making is that this is what you should expect to see on a rotating body with a non-inertial reference frame and an inertial reference frame, but we don't see this.
Correct. We don't see it. So what do we infer from that lack of evidence?
What we infer from this is that this is the correct explanation for what's actually taking place. And it's better to take apart the correct definitions and representations of arguments rather than using straw man.
What's the straw man?
I've heard several things that were mentioned, like conservation of momentum not being a real thing. And that's not true, because that's required for Coriolis effect.
To have Earth-based Coriolis.
That's required to have Coriolis to work. That's what you said?
Exactly. All those elements need to be there in order for Coriolis
But if
to
you're
work.
conserving momentum, how do you have Coriolis?
Exactly, Chocolate. You all missed the contradiction.
To have...
Exactly. He said it's travelling at the same rate, and then he contradicted himself and said that's why you get the deviation. So you can't be travelling at the same rate and have deviation, because that's travelling at a different rate. That was where the contradiction came in his statement. Correct, Chocolate?
All the latitude lines are traveling at different rates.
Babs,
Therefore,
do you get that? Babs, do you get that whenever they say conservation of momentum, right? They're arguing for things continuing to move with the Earth as it leaves the reference frame. But if that happens, you have no Coriolis. You only have Coriolis if something is rotating underneath something that's flying straight in the inertial reference frame through the air. Do you get that?
but you wouldn't have Coriolis if the object is staying in the same latitude. But it's not. It's moving into different latitudes.
The problem is not the latitude. That's the straw man.
It is.
Okay? The latitude change is not the cause of the Coriolis. That might affect, in their fantasy world, that might affect the speed at which it moves. But as soon as it leaves the non-inertial reference frame, the gun, right, that's still on Earth, attached to the guy that's still on Earth, that's the non-inertial reference frame. As soon as he shoots that bullet, it's out of the non-inertial reference frame, in the inertial reference frame. That's how you see the Coriolis. But that doesn't happen. Do you get it? The latitude nonsense is the straw man.
No, the latitude is not nonsense, because if it's rotating at a slower speed, And with conservation of momentum, when that bullet goes into a different latitude, it's going to be moving faster. It's going to be rotating faster.
He needs to get kicked out.
Oh,
This guy's ridiculous. He's back to assuming that the Earth is spinning.
Yeah,
No, but
and latitude constitute the Coriolis effect. He's been circle jerking us for the past 45 minutes, right? Are you going to continue to let him go? I can eat breakfast. Go ahead.
Babs, you do realize that
Giving you all the elements that are necessary for Coriolis, you can't remove certain elements and expect to have the same effect.
Define the Coriolis effect and post the citation of the Coriolis effect right now, clown.
Okay, one moment, please.
Oh gosh, take him off, please.
The only true elements for Coriolis are inertial reference frame, non-inertial reference frame, and a projectile and spin, right? That is the basic part of Coriolis. Am I incorrect?
No, you're
There you
right.
go.
It works on the roundabout because the roundabout is moving, and when you throw the ball, it's going straight, but because you're moving underneath it, it looks like the ball is curving. But the Earth doesn't move. Can we
Yes,
go on
but
to the next
you need to
subject?
have all those minimum for Coriolis. But hey, look, this gentleman is much more entertaining to listen to than, say, Brenda or some fool. I mean, I understand he's getting it wrong, but we're all sitting here shooting holes in Coriolis, gravity, all sorts of things. And so, you know, maybe his gun misfired and he's not getting it right, but I mean,
He's
cut him a little
daft.
bit of slack here.
He's daft. He doesn't even drone properly. I mean, I'm losing every third sentence. He doesn't even stay in context.
I'm not deaf. Don't use those ad homs on me.
I'll use it. My brain is tired.
It is really
The
difficult.
same thing does happen on the
Babs,
merry-go-round because there are
Babs,
different concentric circles.
is that you're falling for the okie doke, Babs?
Who would
You're
have
falling for the
thought
banana
Babs
and the
would trigger
tailpipe.
10th man?
That's what the latitude thing is, man. To have Coriolis, something has to leave the ground. It's as simple as that.
Really?
Okay?
You see Coriolis
Yes.
in a merry-go-round because it
It's
consists
really as
of
simple as
different
that. Something has to
concentric
leave the
circles
non-inertial reference
of
frame.
varying sizes.
That's it.
Babs,
Do
do you
we
think that you're
observe
going to
the
be,
for-
do you
do
think
we
you're going to
obs-
get the,
Do we observe the Coriolis effect on a merry-go-round? Yes.
Yes.
Do we have latitude and longitude lines on the merry-go-round?
No.
No.
Okay. So can we
You
move
do
on?
have concentric circles of varying sizes on a merry-go-round.
So.
Is that a
You
latitude,
have concentric
Babs?
circles of varying
Is that
sizes
is
on
that
the
a change in
merry-go-round.
latitude, Babs? On the merry-go-round, do you
Yeah, that is the same.
believe that
That is the same as latitude.
that's a change of latitude on a merry-go-round?
Concentric circles of varying sizes are latitudes.
Is that a
those would be fictitious circles that you're drawing in your head. But regardless, do you really feel you're going to get to the resolution on your point in this show? Because judging by the room,
I can't believe that you're not understanding that concentric circles of varying sizes are latitude lines, and the merry-go-round also has concentric circles similar to those on Earth. How are you not getting that?
And with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Just do a few shout outs. So shout out to Colin Turner, who says, lovely baby. Thank you very much indeed, Colin Turner, for the super chat. Dave Rakia Gafford, who says, 4 more seconds past this guy. Put him on mute, Rakia life. And last but not least, is it Fat Bike Nomad? This is $2 worth so much more to me than most. Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. Fat Bike Nomad, really appreciate your support. A massive thank you to all of today's debating panel. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!